All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is August 30th. We got a full slate on today's Wednesday MLB slate. We're gonna go into each and every game like we always do. We'll talk about the games. I'll give you my thoughts. I'll give you my lean or leans on the games. But as always, my final plays, if you do want to fade me, those plays will be in the pinned comment. And for all the guppies out there last night, all the haters out there, bad night for y'all. We end up going 3-0. The Yankees cash plus 100 odds, even odds over there. The Rays cash for us for plus money, plus 105. The Rangers come through, and then Julio Rodriguez gets a late scratch from the lineup. So we will take the 3-0 night on a less fortunate note. Before we get into it, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button, guys. But on a less, I guess you could say, fortunate note, our ride of the day does not come through. Coming in from Ebonede here. Mariners over 4.5 team total. I don't know how they only scored 1 run yesterday. This is one of the hotter teams in baseball. Maybe it's because they sat Julio Rodriguez. Could be. I don't know how they only scored 1 run. I mean, that womp womp is both for the ride of the day and for the Mariners right there, because I love this spot. I jumped on board with it right when I saw it too. So guys, unfortunately, the ride of the day, you know what the rules are. If you do lose, you got to face the womp womp. But shout out to Ebonede for the play. I liked it. I thought it was a good spot, good value as well, and comes up short. But if you guys do want to be the ride of the day, all you got to use is hashtag ride of the day in the comments, and I'm jumping on board with one person's play and giving you guys a shout out in the next video, win or loss. Let's get a winner in there. I thought this one was going to be a winner, and it just did not come through. The Mariners kind of flopped last night. But let's go ahead and jump into game number 1 here. We are looking at Baltimore taking on the White Sox. On the hump for Baltimore today is going to be Kyle Gibson going up against Dylan Cease. Baltimore has owned this series thus far, winning 9-0 in game 1 and 9-3 in game number 2 yesterday. I don't see any reason why this would change. And I think you have some decent value for Baltimore right now at minus 170. So if you can get that number right now, I think it's fair to jump on it. Even though Dylan Cease is on the mound for the White Sox, and I like the pitcher, and he's a talented pitcher, really has not looked good as of late. In his last 3 years, he's got a 7.88 ERA with a 1.88 whip. I'm going to need to see a little something out of him before we start backing him or even trusting him to do anything. And then on top of that, last 10 games here for the Orioles, 8.3 runs per 9, a 308 average here with a 365 on base percentage. I'm leaning towards the Orioles on the money line. In terms of the total, I guess you have to look at the over here. This Orioles team is absolutely dropping a bunch of runs, left and right. And then all of a sudden, if you just get a little bit of juice out of the White Sox in the series, you saw what happened yesterday, 9-3, 12 total. So I lean slightly towards the over as well, but I'm definitely more emphatic on the Orioles money line side of things here. Next up, we have the Phillies taking on the Angels, and kind of similar to the Orioles and the White Sox. Like, the only reason I would see the Angels winning this game or the White Sox winning the game that we talked about previously is the fact that, are they going to lose 3 in a row? Maybe not, type of thing, which isn't a good betting philosophy here. So I'm going to lean towards Philadelphia. Chris Sanchez on the mound. He's been pitching fairly well and fairly consistent here, giving you about 6 innings pitched, 2 earned runs in his last 3 starts here. And the team is 4-1 in his last 5. Going against Reed Detmers, who just has not been all that great. He did have a good outing. I think we took the Rangers against the Angels last time he pitched. He had a no-hitter going into the 7th, right? And then they end up winning 2-0, but that was the only good start he had recently, and it's kind of swaying and skewing his stats. So give me the Phillies here on the money line. They clearly are the better team. Detmers is a left-handed pitcher, and we know how the Phillies have been against lefties as of late, especially in their last 10 years. 311 average, almost 7 runs per 9 here with a near 400 on base percentage. I like this spot. Again, you're paying a little bit of juice, just like the Orioles pick here, but you're kind of right at that. Minus 170 sometimes gets me thinking, is it worth it? Is it not? But nonetheless, guys, I do think that there's still some value there. In fact, I think that's a good spot, just for the Phillies to go out there and capitalize on a good series already and a good 10-game stretch. They've won 8 of their last 10. This would be, I believe, their 6th win in a row, so I think they can do it. So give me the Philadelphia Phillies here on the money line. In terms of the total, 9 runs. We've seen the Phillies score a handful of runs here, but the Angels have as well. Now, I don't necessarily think the Angels are going to totally get to Christopher Sanchez. They've struggled against lefties as of late, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a double-digit game here again. So just like last game, a lot of similarities between these two breakdowns so far. I do slightly lean towards the over, but I really like the money line a lot more than the total in this game. Before we continue on with the slate, I did want to take 2 seconds to talk to you guys about OddsJam, guys. I've talked about it in the last couple videos, and I will continue to talk about it because I do believe in this tool. If you use the link in the description or in the pinned comment, you can get 25% off your first month with OddsJam, but that literally isn't all. I feel like a used car salesman. That's not all. You get 7 days free as well on top of that. I don't know if we could even like get a better deal than this. What it is, it's a great platform, a plethora of tools over there. You can find what suits you. If you're a single bettor, a parlay bettor, a plus EV bettor, a daily fantasy pick'em player, a fantasy sports player, go check out OddsJam, guys. In fact, we can dive in really quickly and just see what we have over on OddsJam as of right now. If I can get this up on my screen, actually. Here it is. Sorry for that. But here we go. This is the plus EV screen, which is really cool. It's showing you guys how you can identify these plus EV bets, so expected value bets. For example, right here, plus 145 on the Barstool Sportsbook for Jacob Young under 0.5 basis. If we look into this, you could see that plus 145 is way more value than any other sportsbooks that at plus 110, plus 102, Fliff at plus 140. But a real sportsbook in terms of Barstool here, plus 145 compared to DraftKings, Caesars, BetMGM. You can see there's tons of value in taking it there. That is the type of thing that OddsJam can provide. You know you're getting the best price on every single pick that you select, and that's a good starting point for any sports bettor, making sure you at least have some value there. And if you always start your sports betting research being like, where do I start? What do I do? Plus EV is a great way to go because you know that you're already starting with some value and they're just throwing plays your way that you can then further research if you want. But if you don't want to, you already have the value just sending it with that. So check out OddsJam, guy. Again, link in the description as well as the pinned comment. You're going to get 25% off your first subscription, your first month, and you're going to get 7 days free. Go try it free for 7 days. All right, next up, we have Minnesota taking on Cleveland in this one. Cleveland bounces back with a win yesterday. They win that one 4-2. They still have lost 6 of their last 10 games. Minnesota has looked all right. They've won 4 of their last 6 here. Dropped a couple tough ones, though, getting beat by Texas and then obviously getting beat yesterday. Today on the mound for Minnesota is going to be Sonny Gray, who's looked pretty good as of late. He has one kind of throwaway start in his last 5 here. Still with a 1.8 ERA in his last 5, though. And then in terms of who's going out there for Cleveland, Tanner Beebe, I'm big on him. You guys know that. 1.8 ERA in his last 5 as well. I like the under in this spot. It's at 8 right now. I wouldn't be surprised if this continues to move. I don't necessarily know if it's going to, but I do think that these two pitchers are obviously very sufficient, and I think that we're looking at two teams that really don't bat righties all that well. Nothing special, right? So I think that the pitching is going to kind of trump everything today. Cleveland in their last 10 here, only batting 232 against righties, and then the Twins only batting 250 against righties in their last 10, like I said. So give me the under 8 in this spot. I hope it doesn't move to 7.5 or so before we get to it. I would also consider, maybe juicing it a little bit at 8.5 because we could see a game that, I could technically see this game being like 5-3, being a very slow scoring game or low scoring game, but also landing at 8. So keep an eye on the pinned comment to see what we ultimately end up rolling with there. But that is going to be my main lean in this game. If it had a gun to my head, which I don't think I do, I would lean towards Minnesota just because of the better team right now. But again, I trust Tanner Beebe, so I think this is going to be a close game. And if it's going to be a close game, I do think that it's going to be a grinded out type game, and we're going to see an under in this spot, much like yesterday, 4-2 in that spot. All right, next up, we have San Diego taking on St. Louis here. St. Louis gets the bounce back win yesterday, and honestly, guys, I went back and forth on this one, so to take this whole breakdown with a grain of salt. We have Miles Mikolas on the mound for the Cardinals. He has been pretty damn bad, and he's going up against another guy that's been bad, Rich Hill for San Diego. The only sort of value and edge that I can find in this game is that St. Louis legitimately stinks against lefties. Last 10 games here, batting 146 against lefties. I have to look at San Diego in this spot. Minus 102 odds as well, like kind of minus 104, excuse me, on FanDuel. Some value I could see there because I do think that they are the better team, but both these teams are just in their own struggles right now, can't get out of their own way. So quick breakdown here. It really comes down to I don't trust that St. Louis offense whatsoever. It doesn't really mean I trust the San Diego offense, but that St. Louis offense has been abysmal versus lefties as of late. So Rich Hill has to find something here. He pitched well against the St. Louis team back in June as well. 6 2/3 pitched, only 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts, one of his better, pitching outings of the year too. So hopefully he can carry that momentum from 2 months ago into today and kind of replicate that action, because this is a tough spot. I don't see much value in this. I like the under as well, but I also have liked the under. I liked the under to some degree yesterday, right? And it was 6-5, so kind of turned me off from that. But San Diego in the under, very slight leans on this side. All right, we have the Cubs taking on Milwaukee here. Milwaukee's win streak comes to an end yesterday as the Cubs win that game 1-0. Now we see that total go all the way down, and we did like the under yesterday, which I wish we pulled the trigger on that. Did not, because it just was such a low number. But here we have Milwaukee sitting there as favorites, ever so slightly though, -116 over on FanDuel. The Cubs at -102. That total, like I said, is at 7 here. On the mound for the Cubs is going to be Kyle Hendricks. He's been pitching okay. I would give him that okay. The team just is not scoring many runs when he pitches. Going up against Brandon Woodruff, who, seems to be a strikeout machine as of late. He had 11 strikeouts in his last start here. His line's all the way up to 7.5. So I do like his under in strikeouts. I don't think he's that type of a pitcher where his line should be at 7.5, but nonetheless, we're not talking him specifically, but that is a player prop lean that I have for you guys. In terms of what I'm looking at here, I do think Milwaukee gets back on track. We haven't really seen Kyle Hendricks look exactly like we'd want to see. He had one good outing, I think, in his last 5, and it was against Kansas City, I believe. Don't have it up in my notes. It was either Kansas City or Oakland, one of the worst teams in the league, right? But other than that, he is keeping teams to like 4 or 5 runs or so, but he's just not getting much run support. So if that trend continues, I could see them, losing this game. And I do think Milwaukee obviously was the hotter team. They lose one game. Let's see if they get back on track today. So I do think I lean towards Milwaukee. But like I said yesterday, this is a game where I'm like, if you're on the Cubs, this really isn't a, meant to be type of a, hey, get off the Cubs. That's not the spot for them. No, I do think both these teams, it's a really good series, good matchup. I think either one of these teams could win the game. And I know that's not what you're looking for, but again, this is Ev's MLB picks, right? I'm not giving you advice all the time. I'm not telling you what to do. It is my picks, and I'm leaning towards Milwaukee today. So if you're on the Cubs, that is completely fine. Go ahead and fade my Milwaukee pick. And speaking of fading my Milwaukee pick and fading me, guys, go ahead and cop some merch. We had a few orders yesterday. Thank you guys very much for that. It's like my favorite thing to see when orders come through. And if you want to use the code 20FADE, you get 20% off your order today. It is a great way to support me and support what we're doing here at the channel and just building. And the more that we push this brand, the more quality content we can make. We got tons of product over there and more coming down the line as well. And honestly, I love doing this promo because I like giving back. If we get, a handful of orders today, I will be giving back the refunding essentially one of the orders. We've done that a couple times so far, and it's one of my favorite things to do. If we get even if we get 2 orders today, right? If we get more than 1 order today, I'll pick one person random and then refund their order, which should be pretty easy to do. 2 orders, I think we've averaged well over that since launching the brand. So I'll be picking one person and refunding their order. Go over to fademe.store. I have that linked in the pinned comment as well, and pick up some merch. Good shipping times as well, and really good quality, especially when you talk about YouTuber merch or fan merch or BS like that. Like, this is head and shoulders above that. I'm confident in it. If you buy something and you like it, you'll love it. All right, so head over to fademe.store, and again, if we get a handful of orders today, I'll tweet out or I'll put in the pinned comment what the threshold is. We'll have to run the numbers. I will refund one person at random, so you'll literally get your entire order for free. But go ahead and check that out. Let's get back to the slate. Toronto taking on Washington here. Washington, they dropped game 1, bounce back, and kind of remain hot, remain in that conversation of, are they turning the corner? Are they playing better baseball? Blah, 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 right? I am kind of fading that again today. I do think that they're trotting out the pitcher that's pitching better as of late, Patrick Corbin. I'm not going to take that away from anyone, but Toronto, if there's one thing that they're doing well as of late, it is batting lefties here, averaging almost 300 against lefties in their last 10. So give me the Toronto Blue Jays here on the money line. I don't love the odds, but I think sportsbooks know what they're doing, right? Like, this should be a closer line than it is. So the fact that we're looking at the Nationals plus 200, they just won yesterday. They have the better pitcher today, or the guy that's been pitching better. I think a lot of people are going to be on Washington, and I feel like it could be a trap. So I'm kind of trying to sniff through the BS here. Don't love this spot altogether just because of the odds. I can be honest with you guys there, but I'm going to lean towards Toronto, but it's got to be in some sort of parlay throw-in or something like that. Again, the reason being because I do think that Washington is the hotter team, right? Or at least has been playing really good baseball. I'm not taking anything necessarily away from Toronto, but Washington's been getting a lot of wins as of late, and I think they have the hotter pitcher today. So why are those odds so drastically, favored in terms of Toronto? I'm trying to read that line, guys. Give me Toronto on the money line. A play that I could actually see being a final play here, though. Like I said, I don't really love this series. Don't love this spot. I do not mind the over 8.5 here. We've seen a game of 6-3 and then 5-4, very close to that 8.5. But I think we have two guys going out there today that could actually let up a few more runs than the pitchers that we've seen pitch thus far. So main lean in this one is going to be the over 8.5. And again, I think Toronto wins this game. I can't pay that price tag. San Francisco taking on Cincinnati. Something in my gut, my big old gut, is telling me that Cincinnati pulls at least one game out in this series. They have barely scored any runs in their last 3. They scored 2 against Arizona, and they've scored 1 in each game here against San Francisco. They're going up against a tough matchup today as well in Logan Webb. But there's gotta be some sort of resurgence from this Reds team, or I'm willing to be like, they're done for the rest of the year type of thing. Like, they've already, blown their load and all that. They're not going to play good baseball, blah, 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 whatever you want to say. Plus 144, I have to take a peek at that. I cannot look at San Francisco right now and think that minus 172 over on FanDuel is of value, even with the pitcher. So I sounded the psycho alert alarm. If you want to fade me, go ahead, but I do lean towards Cincinnati. Hunter Green on the mound for them today, kind of a head scratcher there, but I have a feeling that they do pull at least one of these out. And I also like the over 7.5. Reason being, Hunter Green in his last few starts has been in just absolute barn burners of games, right? So even if Cincinnati doesn't go out there, it's kind of a safety net lean, right? If they don't go out there and play well, Hunter Green's probably going to let up a decent amount of runs. So give me the over 7.5 as well. But for whatever reason, I do think that this is a Logan Webb team, Logan Webb day where he's going to let up a few runs. He had a great outing against them earlier in the season. I don't care. Give me the value at plus 144 for Cincinnati to at least bounce back a little bit. You guys are probably looking at your screens being like, you are stupid. And you know what? Maybe I am, but maybe I'm not. Give me Cincinnati on the money line. Got the Astros taking on the Red Sox here. Astros have won both games to start this series, and it seems maybe the Red Sox realize now where their season is going and they've given up. I'm going to lean towards the Astros in this one yet again. Cutter Crawford on the mound. He's been pitching really well. Going up against Framber Valdez, who has also been pitching fairly well. Has been a little inconsistent, but I do think they're the better team. I don't think this becomes a final play. Reason being, the Red Sox seem to always try and play this Astros team really, really tough. They tried to play them tough in game number 1, lost 13-5, but I'm not getting in the way of what this Astros team is doing as of late here. So I'm kind of sticking away from this game altogether, but I would lean towards the Astros just because I think the Red Sox have given up. But again, the Red Sox do play this Astros team fairly tough, and they view it as some sort of an AL rivalry or something like that, right? So you never know what's going to happen in a game like this. But give me the Astros on the money line. In terms of the total 10, I do think that this one ends up under double digits, much like yesterday. I don't think that we're going to see, 14 type, 18 runs in game number 1. I think we're going to see more like 9 or 8 in this game. Next, we have the Mariners taking on the Oakland A's, and Mariners got their, I'm going to say they got their doors blown in yesterday. I guess they didn't really. They lost 3-1, but nonetheless, unlike them to lose to, I say the Rays, the A's, but 3-1 loss yesterday. I do think that they bounce back today with Bryce Miller on the mound. I don't necessarily love the fact that we're looking at minus 290, so I'm going to take a peek at the minus 1.5. Seattle on the run line in a good bounce back spot. Hopefully they get some guys back that sat yesterday and they can do what they did in game number 1 of this series, which was win 7-0. On the mound here for Oakland is Zach Neal, who we've only seen once this year. Didn't look all that great. Didn't look bad, but did not look all that great. I expect Seattle to stay hot and bounce back in this spot and win this game. In terms of a total 8.5, if Oakland scores 3 runs again, I think that we end up cashing over, which is crazy. So I'm predicting that Seattle goes out there and scores, 6 runs, which we thought they would yesterday. Shout out to the ride of the day. Remember that lost. I think the Seattle team's going to bounce back in a good way and score a bunch of runs. So give me the over as well as Seattle on the money line, or excuse me, the run line. Detroit taking on New York. We got some hate in the comments yesterday when I leaned towards the Yankees. Well, they took the win 4-2. It was a plus money win for us yesterday. We don't have any odds or lines on this game yet because we're awaiting the pitcher for Detroit, but this is probably just a kind of a chalk throwaway game anyways because Garrett Cole's on the mound. So when those lines come out, I bet the Yankees are going to be like minus 250 or something like that. So if they're anywhere around like minus 160, something like that, we might consider pulling the trigger on them again because you got to back Garrett Cole when he pitches for this Yankees team, at least I believe so. Yes, he had one bat. What was it? The Red Sox absolutely went off on him, and it's like it makes his whole last three ERAs kind of skewed, but you got to trust the guy, best pitcher in the AL right now. So give me the Yankees on the money line, just knowing that he's pitching, but we don't necessarily know who's pitching for Detroit. So in terms of an actual play on the money line, run line, or total, we'll wait to see who's pitching for them. All right, Miami taking on the Rays. When are people going to learn that this Rays team is starting to get back to what they were? We cashed them again for plus money yesterday at plus 105. They win 11-2. They have Zach Eflin on the mound today. He's got a 2-flat ERA in his last 5 with a kind of a really bad game in there, only pitching, was it 6 innings with 6 allowed against Cleveland 3 starts ago. Going up against Jesus Luzardo, who has looked pretty bad as of late. He had a good start against San Diego at his last start, but prior to that, he's been getting batted around, and you have a team right now in the Tampa Bay Rays that are crushing lefties. Last 10, averaging 9 runs per game, a 340 average with an over 400 on base percentage. Give me the Rays again. You're getting them for minus 118 right now over on FanDuel. This is a team that is obviously gearing up and getting hot right at the right time as the season starts to slowly wind down, right? So Rays on the money line here. Total sitting at 7.5. I can't help but look at the over there. If I think this is going to be a Rays game all day long, they've hit over 7.5 in 9 of their last 10 games, and it's even odds over on DraftKings right now. Give me the over 7.5. Mets taking on Texas. Texas pulls it out for us. Isn't that weird? We had the Yankees, Tampa Bay, and Texas all in a row in this breakdown in terms of the order of the slate, and those were our 3 plays yesterday, and we win them all. So maybe that's a sign here because I could see us pulling the trigger on a couple of those again today. But Texas trotting out Dane Dunning, who honestly his last 2 starts not looking all that great, but we know what we're going to get out of him. He's going up against Denny Reyes, who I don't know all that much about. When he pitched back in May, I thought he was an opener, obviously coming from the bullpen and whatnot. Then pitches, did he pitch just about like 2 weeks ago or something like that, right? So not much data on him. I haven't really given him the eye test too, and sorry to the haters out there and the guppies. Like, I'm sorry I didn't watch every pitch this guy's thrown in his career. I am a human at the end of the day. But I'm trusting Dane Dunning here. You're looking at minus 150 odds. I don't hate that at all for what you're getting here. Minus 150 over on BetMGM. I think this is a Rangers team that is also trying as hard as they can to win games as of right now. So give me them on the money line. Total is sitting at 9 runs here. We really haven't seen this Mets team offensively produce in about 7 games. The most they've scored in 7 games is 3 runs. So give me the under, but I like the Rangers way more than anything else in this game. All right, guys, if you are interested in player props, I got 2 things for you. We're going to talk about a brand in just a second, but I also want to let you guys know that you can follow me at EvGuyBoston on X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it, EvGuyBoston. It pops up right around here throughout the course of the video. EvGuyBoston, EvGuyBoston. I think I spelled that correctly. I'm posting plenty of player prop content out there, and I'm following everyone back that follows me for the last couple of days here. So if you want another follower on Twitter, go ahead and follow me at EvGuyBoston. But speaking of player props, that's where I'm posting a lot of daily fantasy sports, pick 'em, prize picks, that type of thing, right? But we also do have a great partner, and I'm sure you guys have heard plenty about Outlier, but this is where I'm doing the bulk of my true player prop trend research. We talked about OddsJam earlier in the video, right? That's when it comes to odds and best value and finding plays and a starting point. Well, this is where we can literally deep dive so damn easily on player props. So I have this set to minimum odds of minus 150, but you can go through and see, okay, Julio Rodriguez over 1.5 total bases. That was one of our, we had him hits, runs, and RBIs yesterday, but this was one of our plays yesterday slightly. He's hit this in 4 of his last 5, 80%, 9 of his last 10, 80% of his last 20. We can click in and even dissect it a little bit more here. Who's he going up against in terms of a pitcher? Well, he's facing a right-handed pitcher today. He's 286 on the season, but only batting 277 against right-handed pitchers, and Zach Neal is that pitcher whose batting average actually jumps for right-handed batters to 333 when he faces them. You can see the pitches that he has, and you can even go as deep as to looking at how these two guys perform when it comes to the pitches that the pitcher pitches from a heat map perspective. Guys, this is a goated tool. You can also look at it from a games perspective perspective and see trends and everything like that, like looking at Milwaukee winning 9 of their last 10. We already talked about that in the video, right? Found that stat from Outlier. So if you do want to check out Outlier, you can get this 7 days free. 7 days free, and they're making so many updates to this thing, and they're working on it constantly. I'm on calls with them plenty, talking about the football season and everything like that. Really, really cool guys over there, guys. So if you do want to check it out, 7 days free with the link in the description or the pinned comment. Let's get back to the slate. Kansas City taking on Pittsburgh. This is the instant classic series that we've been talking about all series long. Pittsburgh has won both games so far here. Andre Jackson on the mound for them today, going up against Angel Zerpa. Obviously, neither one of these guys is a stud. Obviously, this game doesn't all that matter all that much, but maybe we just look at the Royals here to win this one. We could even take them on the run line to keep it close, but I doubt any of this becomes a final play. In the terms of a total, we're looking at 8.5 or 9, depending on the sportsbook you're looking at. We've seen a 5-0 game and then a 6-3 game. One hits the over, one hits the under. Don't really love much in this one, so don't come banging at my door being like, you didn't give me a pick in the Royals and the Pittsburgh Pirates game. Sorry, guys, don't really love much here, but I lean towards the Royals just because I don't think that the Pittsburgh is like a sweep-worthy team no matter who they're playing. Colorado taking on the Braves here. Vines on the mound for Atlanta. No starts yet. Going up against Kyle Freeland here. It seems like kind of a game in which Atlanta is just trying to get out of Dodge. So what I'm going to do is lean towards the under 13.5 as my main lean in this game. I'm not considering either side just because of the price tag for Atlanta, and I'm sure as hell not going to bet on Colorado, but I don't think Atlanta is going to come into this thinking they're going to score a billion runs. They have a big series to look forward to, or a good series to look forward to against the Dodgers coming up. And again, they're kind of trotting out a no-name in terms of pitching. So I do think that they're going to try and walk through this game instead of run, and we're going to cash this under 13.5. Last game of the slate, we got the Dodgers taking on the Diamondbacks. Dodgers still heavily favored in this one as they've owned the series thus far, but a couple wild cards as pitchers today. We have Ryan Papoit. You guys know I can't pronounce names. Coming back from AAA, making the start here today, going up against Brandon Stott for the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's actually looked good as of late, so I'm going to get a little wild here and take a flyer on the Diamondbacks on the money line here for plus 154 odds. Papoit is a righty here. Papoit is a righty here. Diamondbacks don't, bat righties all that poorly. 283 in the last 10 with a 6.7 runs per 9 rate and almost averaging 8 hits, 375 on base percentage. The issue here is that we're also looking at a Dodgers team that bats righties really well. Stott, who has been good lately, but does kind of stink overall. I mean, he's a young kid, but still a promising future, but still has not performed all that well. I do think that we're looking at a Dodgers team that hits righties well as well. So if this total wasn't all the way up to 10, and by the way, I know it's not updated on the graphics, but we do have the lines now. Total is at 10. If it wasn't there, I do think that you could be looking at an over, but 10 seems a little high. So give me the flyer of the Diamondbacks here on the money line. And that is all I have for you guys today. If you did enjoy the video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and go ahead and comment 27 if you made it to the end of the video. But you got to comment 27 and then drop sort of a, give me 27 end, so I know you made it, because a lot of people are going to comment 27 just because they read the comment saying 27 and they know how the things work, right? But if you comment 27 end, END, can you spell that one? Because I barely can. If you comment that, I'll know you made it till the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm glad we're back at the longer slates and everything like that, and coming off a nice little sweep of a night last night. Couldn't be more excited for today. We also have a college football video coming out today as well. Whew, a lot of content on the horizon, guys. We're doing college football, NFL, college football as much as we can, NFL every week, multiple videos a week for NFL, sticking with the daily baseball as well until the season ends. So yeah, that's what we got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out.